Imagine walking into your daughter's wedding only to find your name card doesn't say, father of the bride, but, father by obligation. Everyone laughs, whispers, and treats you like a prop. That was Marcus's reality. But what no one knew was that this janitor held a secret that would bring their empire crashing down. If you've ever dreamed of seeing arrogant people finally get the justice they deserve, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle in. Because this is one of the most emotionally satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. Marcus tugged nervously at his tie. He hadn't worn a suit in years, and this one wasn't exactly tailor-made, it was the cheapest he could afford. Still, today was Riley's day. His little girl. The one he'd raised single-handedly since her mother passed away. But as he stepped into the luxury Tahoe wedding venue, the air changed. It was heavy, polished, cold. The chandeliers dripped with crystal light. Champagne flutes clinked like tiny bells. The Drexler family, the groom's family, glided across the room like they owned the air itself. And maybe, in a way, they did. Marcus found his table. Every seat had a delicate white name card. CEO. Investor. Mrs. Drexler. Prestige stamped in ink. Then his eyes caught his own card. Marcus, father by obligation. For a moment he thought it must be a mistake. Maybe a cruel joke. But the whispers around him confirmed otherwise. That's him? The janitor? God, look at his shoes. She really is marrying up. The words slid under his skin like needles. Marcus felt his ears burn, his throat tighten. He'd scrubbed floors, changed bulbs, and worked double shifts just to make sure Riley had shoes that fit, books for school, and food on the table. And here he was, reduced to nothing more than an afterthought on a name card. When it came time for the toasts, Marcus stood. His palms were damp, but his heart swelled with pride as he looked at Riley. She was breathtaking. Her white silk dress shimmered, her smile radiant. She had grown into everything he'd ever hoped for. Smart, compassionate, strong. He raised his glass. To my daughter. Riley, you are proof that hard work and love can overcome anything. You are. A sharp laugh cut through the air. Brent's uncle Walter leaned back in his chair, smirking. Brightest mop he's ever pushed, maybe? A ripple of laughter spread. Marcus froze, glass trembling in his hand. His stomach sank, but he forced the words out. My brightest light. He sat down quickly, his pride cracking under the weight of humiliation. Riley's eyes found his, soft, apologetic, furious all at once, but she said nothing. Not yet. Later, Marcus slipped out toward the restroom, the walls pressing in. The marble floors gleamed under his worn shoes, each step echoing like judgment. Then he heard voices. Around the corner. Familiar ones. Brent. Walter. And Alan Drexler, the patriarch. You know what kills me? Brent chuckled. She actually thinks that janitor is her real dad. Walter snorted. Pathetic. She married up. That's the only thing that matters. Alan's voice rumbled low, smug. Once she signs the prenup, all this family nonsense won't matter. We'll have control. The janitor will fade into the background where he belongs. Marcus's pulse hammered. His hands shook. His chest tightened so hard it hurt to breathe. He wanted to storm in, to scream, to fight. But the words stuck in his throat. What power did he have here? Against them? Against money, influence, privilege? He was nothing. At least that's what they wanted him to believe. The wedding ended with smiles stretched tight like masks. Marcus kept his silence, though every laugh still cut deep. He was ready to disappear, to drive back to his modest apartment, lick his wounds, and accept his role as an outsider. But then Riley pulled him aside. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes hard with determination. Dad, she whispered, come with me. I need to show you something. She led him to a side room. A laptop sat open on the table. Riley clicked play. The screen lit up with the very conversation Marcus had overheard. Brent, Walter, Alan, mocking him. Talking about prenups, about control, about how he didn't matter. Marcus's throat clenched. He couldn't even look at her. But Riley wasn't breaking. She was burning. I know what they think of you, Dad. But they don't know the truth. She clicked again. Documents filled the screen. Contracts, shareholder agreements, legal filings. I never signed a prenup. And they don't know about Art Era Biotech. Marcus blinked. Art Era? My company. I built it with Ellen Carter. We've been quiet, building under the radar. It's valued in the hundreds of millions. And Dad. She slid a folder toward him. I put your name on the trust. Winterlight Holdings. Together, we control enough shares to challenge the Drexlers. Marcus's hands hovered over the papers, shaking. His calloused fingers, fingers worn from years of bleach and grime, touched the embossed letters. "Why?" he whispered. Riley's hand gripped his, firm, unwavering. "Because you sacrificed everything for me. You worked yourself to the bone, skipped meals, lived small so I could dream big. You've been more of a father than anyone could ask for. And now it's time they learn who you really are." Marcus's chest ached. For years, he had carried the shame of being just a janitor. The Drexlers had made sure to remind him of it at every turn. But here, in this quiet room, his daughter, his little girl who used to fall asleep in his lap while he read bedtime stories, was telling him he wasn't small. He wasn't weak. He wasn't nothing. He was the future. "They think I'm weak," Marcus whispered. Riley smiled, sharp and steady. "Let them. Tomorrow Dad will show them the janitor isn't a footnote. He's the chair." For the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel humiliated. He didn't feel powerless. He felt ready. The night ended with fake laughter and champagne bubbles, but beneath the surface, a storm was building. Marcus walked out into the Tahoe night, the cold air biting his skin. His suit still felt cheap, his shoes still scuffed. But none of it mattered anymore. Beside him, Riley walked with fire in her eyes. Together they carried not just a secret, but a weapon. The Drexlers had mocked the janitor. Soon they would answer to the chairman. Sometimes the deepest cuts don't come from strangers. They come from the people who laugh while you bleed. Marcus thought he was powerless. But what the Drexlers didn't understand was that a lifetime of sacrifice had already built the foundation for their downfall. If this story has you hooked already, smash that like button and drop a comment. Would you have forgiven Brent if you were in Riley's shoes? And don't go anywhere, because in part 2 you'll see exactly how Marcus and Riley dismantled an entire corrupt empire, piece by piece. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. The Tahoe wedding was supposed to be the end of Marcus's humiliation. But instead, it became the birthplace of a firestorm. Because now Riley was done hiding. The morning after the wedding, Marcus sat alone at a small diner the next morning. His hands were wrapped around a chipped coffee mug, steam rising but untouched. He wasn't thinking about food. He was thinking about what Riley had told him the night before. That she had built Art-era biotech, that she had millions in valuation under her name, and that the Drexler's empire was about to burn. But Marcus couldn't shake one thought. Why me? Why did Riley want him, just a janitor, to sit in the middle of this fight? As if reading his thoughts, Riley slid into the booth across from him. No makeup, just a hoodie and the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Riley, softly, "Dad, you spent my whole life cleaning up after people who thought they were better than you. Well, it's their turn now. You're not a janitor anymore. You're my partner." Marcus swallowed hard. For the first time he realized, this wasn't just about Riley's marriage. It was about justice. The Drexlers had built their wealth on a biotech conglomerate, Drexler Medical Holdings. On the surface they sold hope, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, cutting-edge therapies. But behind the curtain, Riley had the receipts. Shell companies funneling money to relatives. Inflated invoices bleeding hospitals dry. Clinical trial data manipulated to fast-track unsafe drugs. They weren't healers. They were predators. And Marcus of all people, was about to become the wrecking ball that tore it all down. A week later, Riley called Marcus into her office. She hit play on a video. It was from the Drexler wedding. The groomsmen, Brent's cousins, laughing by the bar. One of them sneered. "Groomsman, can you believe she let the janitor walk her down the aisle? Her real dad must be rolling in his grave." The table erupted in laughter. Marcus clenched his fists. His ears rang. The disrespect was bad enough in whispers. But hearing it, seeing it recorded for the world, something inside him snapped. Riley paused the video. Her eyes locked onto her father's. "Riley, steady, calm, we're going to make them choke on every word. The secret weapon, Winter Light Holdings." That's when Riley revealed her ace card. Years ago, while still in college, she had set up Winter Light Holdings, a trust that quietly collected dividends from her biotech work. She had done it under the radar so Brent and his family never saw it coming. And inside that trust? A proxy agreement giving Marcus legal voting rights over her shares. In other words, Marcus wasn't just the janitor dad anymore. He was about to sit at the same table as the Drexlers, with the power to destroy them. The day of the Drexler board meeting, Marcus felt his stomach twist. He had worn his only suit, an old navy jacket Riley had tailored for him. He still felt out of place, but Riley squeezed his hand before they walked in. The boardroom gleamed with polished oak and glass. The Drexlers sat at the head like royalty, Alan Drexler, the iron-fisted patriarch. Walter Drexler, sneering like a vulture. And Brent, Riley's fiancé, or rather ex-fiancé, his smirk daring her to challenge them. Alan cleared his throat. Alan Drexler, let's make this quick. We're here to finalize Riley's transition into the family company. Brent will assume primary authority. Riley interrupting, no. We're here to discuss corruption. A murmur rippled through the room. Riley slid a thick binder across the table. Contracts, emails, bank transfers. Every shady deal, every falsified invoice, every skeleton the Drexlers thought was buried. Alan slammed his fist on the table. Alan, this is slander. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but steady. Marcus, no. This is truth. And the truth doesn't go away just because you're rich enough to ignore it. Riley laid out the case with surgical precision. For every denial she had evidence. For every excuse she had proof. Finally she dropped the bombshell. Riley, as of this morning, Winterlight Holdings holds controlling proxy rights in this company. The voting authority rests not with me, but with Marcus Carter. The room went silent. Brent's face drained of color. Brent, hissing, you gave him control? A janitor? Marcus stood. His hands trembled but his voice did not. Marcus, I cleaned floors so my daughter could have a future. And that future does not include crooks like you. My vote is to remove Alan, Walter, and Brent Drexler from all leadership positions, effective immediately. The boardroom erupted. Some shouted in disbelief. Others, those long sick of Drexler bullying, nodded in grim agreement. Then Ellen Carter, the independent board member Riley had quietly aligned with, raised her hand. Ellen, I second the motion. One by one the votes were cast. When the tally was read, the Drexlers had lost. Alan, Walter, Brent, stripped of power. And in their place? Marcus Carter, interim chair of the board. The press caught wind fast. Janitor turned corporate chairman exposes Drexler corruption, blared across headlines. Reporters camped outside Marcus's modest house. Neighbors who once pitied him now looked at him with awe. But Marcus didn't care about fame. What mattered was watching the Drexlers squirm. Watching their empire crumble under the weight of their own greed. And most of all, knowing Riley was finally free. A month later, Marcus found himself back in Oak Ridge Park, the place where Riley had learned to ride her bike, where they had eaten cheap ice cream on hot summer days. This time though the park was filled with something new, a community health fair. Funded by Riley's Carter Health Equity Fund, they distributed refurbished medical devices, free screenings and health literacy tools to families who had never had access before. Marcus looked around, kids laughing, parents crying tears of gratitude, and realized, this was the real revenge. Not just tearing down the Drexlers, but building something better in their place. But of course the Drexlers weren't finished. One night, Marcus stepped onto his porch and found Brent waiting. His once perfect suit was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. Brent, snarling, you think this is over? You think you can just waltz in and take everything we built? Marcus crossed his arms. Marcus, you built nothing. You stole. You lied. And now, you pay. Riley appeared at the doorway behind her father, her voice like steel. Riley, you come near us again, Brent, and you'll be facing more than just a cease and desist. You'll be facing federal prison. Brent's jaw worked, but no words came. For the first time he looked small. Powerless. And then he left. Months passed. Under Marcus's leadership, the company restructured. Corrupt vendors were cut out. Transparent practices replaced shady deals. Riley's keynote at UC Davis, titled Strategic Patience, went viral. She spoke about waiting, about enduring, about knowing exactly when to strike. And one morning as Marcus drove past a billboard downtown, he stopped and stared. Black letters against a white background. Integrity is inherited. And beneath it, a picture of Riley and Marcus standing side by side. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He had spent years believing he was less than. A shadow. An embarrassment. But now he knew the truth. He wasn't just Riley's father. He was the man who had helped change everything.